The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win now. Sign up today, bet 100 and get $100 free bet at the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. We are also brought to you by our mini helmet contest. The SGP mini helmets are now in the store, and we're giving away one for free. Just go to the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/helmet. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/helmet. And welcome, everyone, to the NFL Gambling Podcast. It is Thursday, December the 29th, which means we are already in week number 17. I am your host or co-host, Ryan McIntyre, a.k.a. Moneyline Mac, and we have a substitute in today, and everybody that follows all the SGPN platforms knows this voice. He is the machine, Moonoff. He is the host of the Prop Show, Propcast, the NBA Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast. Did I miss anything, Moonoff?
No, you didn't. I'm pretty sure people are sick of hearing my voice, but here we are, man. NFL Week 17. I know a couple guys on the shelf. I was battling some a cold last week. I know some guys are this week, so we're just trying to keep everybody afloat and just try to make it to the end of the season, Ryan.
Yeah, no. Next man up, J Mark is out. He's been battling a bug. I know last week during the Week 16 show, he also was battling the bug as well. So he got through that one, but can't go this week. So you just slide right in like Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night.
Yes, sir. So hopefully everybody can get healthy. But yeah, NFL Week 17, my man. It's 2 weeks left, man. It always flies by, doesn't it?
It really does. And, it's crazy. I think this has been one of the more crazy NFL seasons with all these dogs hitting. Before we go into this Week 17 slate, we got be doing the morning games, which means we got 9 games slated for our preview. If you guys didn't already know, go check out the totals episode that Scott and Terrell just did as well. But before we transition into Week 17, let's go back to Week 16. Anything that caught your mind?
Man, I think we got to start with a Thursday night football game last week. Zach Wilson, he's just not it. He's not it. I think it's time for the Jets to move on. I know he was a number 2 overall pick, but I mean, this guy's just so bad. He seems like he doesn't have any confidence out there, Ryan. I know Mike White has been doing well in place of him, but is he the long-term solution for this Jets team? I'm not sure. I know he is getting the start this week when they go over to Seattle, but that was something that caught my eye last week. And I'm a little bitter because I was on the Jets last week, but outside of that, let's see here. Saints going into Cleveland in that weather, I think that's a big victory for them, for their playoff implications. I know we'll dive into that a little more. But I think the biggest victory, if we were giving out awards here, I think we got to go with the Panthers, or I got to go with the Panthers at least for their victory over the Detroit Lions. I know the public was all over the Detroit Lions in that game, coming off of the couple of victories that they've strung together and hoping to get into the playoffs, but Panthers just ran all over that Detroit Lions defense, who hasn't been very good all season. I know I cashed in big on the Panthers last week, so those were kind of some of the teams that caught my eye last week. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say Carolina. That's where you start. I mean, they put it on Detroit, rushing for almost over 300 yards. Yeah. And then I also got to go to the team that everybody wrote off a couple weeks ago, Green Bay Packers. They continue to find ways to win games. They're staying alive. They got to win their last 2 and get a little bit of help to backdoor into that 7th seed in the NFC. But, I think those are probably the 2 biggest winners. The Cincinnati Bengals just continue to roll, and we got a showdown on Monday Night Football. So make sure you guys later in the week check out the Monday Night Football preview with yourself and Dylan, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but before we do so, we're going to head into week number 17. Anything looking at this early slate? I know we said we got 9 games as a preview, kind of some duds in terms of we don't know exactly who's going to play quarterback in some situations. Anything that catches your eye with this early slate before we dive into it?
A lot of Thursday night football-esque type of games here in the morning schedule here, Ryan.
Yep.
But it's football. Look, there's still a lot to be determined for some of these teams, right? Playoff implications and things like that. Talk about the Detroit Lions. I know they dropped the game last week, like we just talked about with Carolina. The Patriots and Dolphins is going to be a big game as well. Giants looking to clinch a playoff spot if they can get the victory over the Colts. Saints are fighting for their playoff lives, but I think the biggest matchup of at least the early window in the morning games is going to be that NFC South matchup between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. I think whoever wins that game is going to win that division. Both of these South divisions, Ryan, just they've been clunkers, I think is a nice way to put it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it. And somebody that's holding a ticket for Carolina and Jacksonville from a couple weeks back, I got my fingers crossed that the Carolina Panthers can come through. I feel good about Jacksonville, although that is a dangerous place to feel where you're comfortable with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's usually when they come back to bite you.
No, Jacksonville's been playing great football, and I've said this a lot on some of the times they've been in the afternoon windows, or whether it's been on the propcast, that we see the potential that this team does have when you finally have an adult in the room as the head coach, right? Last season, they dealt with Urban Meyer and all the shenanigans and all the stuff that transpired with him and Trevor Lawrence not having a great rookie season. I think all of us and most of us that follow football will probably just look at Trevor Lawrence's rookie season and just throw that in the garbage can just because of everything that kind of happened. And we're starting to see this season what kind of quarterback Trevor Lawrence can be at the professional level for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think they're in good hands with Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson as the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% there. And I also think Wilkes and Carolina, he's done an unbelievable job. I think those two, I know Sirianni, we exchanged texts the other night about Sirianni being the clear-cut guy to win Coach of the Year. But I think you can make a case for both of these guys because what Peterson has done in Jacksonville to take over what Urban Meyer, that whole mess last year, like you said, and then for Wilkes to take over a messy situation with Matt Rule, you trade away McCaffrey, you cut Baker Mayfield. And, I mean, you're right here at the end of the road to win the division against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and who would have thought they would have been in this position at this point of the season? So, that tells you how great of a coach Steve Wilkes is and how guys want to play for him, or just how bad the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been this season. I think it's a little bit of both, Ryan.
No doubt.
Bucks have dealt with injuries to start the season with their offensive line. Tom Brady, maybe the age is catching up to him, or whatever the case might be. But again, I think the bigger story is we got to give flowers to Steve Wilkes and the Carolina Panthers for where they could have easily rolled over this season, but they've won 3 out of their last 4 games, 4 out of the last 6 games to be right in contention for this NFC South game or NFC South division in this game against the Buccaneers on Sunday.
Yep, I agree with you there. And like we said, this slate is a little bit weak in terms of they kind of backloaded the schedule with the Monday night game being so good and the later afternoon games being so good. But that doesn't mean you can't get action on all these early games. And the perfect place to do so is WynnBET. WynnBET is the official online sports book of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays. Reduced juice on sides and totals for all bowl games the day of. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WynnBET. Ready to play? Sign up today. Receive a special offer. Bet 100, win 100, limited to state availability. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so that they know that we sent you. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the same state where you play. WynnBET is available if you or someone has a gambling problem. Please call 1-800-522-4700. And don't forget to enter our SGP mini helmet contest from now until the end of the year. Just go to the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/helmet to enter the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/helmet competition. All right, Moonoff, let's get right into it. Week 17, morning games, and January the 1st. So happy early New Year to everybody. We will rein in 2023 with an NFL Sunday, and we will begin in the ATL, where the Arizona Cardinals, coming off a disappointing 10-point lead that they held against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Christmas night, go to the Falcons, who both teams eliminated in the playoffs. Over/under set at 42, and the Falcons are laying 3. Moonoff, what's your take on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about ugly games. I think this is one of them here, right? Desmond Ridder versus is it going to be Trace McSorley possibly in this game?
Yep.
God, where do you even go with this game? I mean, you're right. Like, there's nothing to play for both of these teams. I mean, Cardinals sitting at 4-11, Falcons at 5-10. I mean, do we think that Cliff Kingsbury is coaching for his job at this point, or do you think he's already out the window? What do you think?
I think he's out the window. And I think you're hitting it right on the head in terms of throw out all the numbers. The numbers don't matter in this game because both teams are injured. Both teams don't have their starting quarterbacks from the beginning of the year with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
It's about who's motivated to play this game.
Yeah. I want to go with the Cardinals here and take the points. They fought last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so it's not like they're rolling over, right?
Yeah.
They sent that game to overtime, unfortunately for the Arizona Cardinals, or fortunately for them as far as draft position goes. They lost that game, but they were competitive in that game. James Conner had a great game for them last week, 15 carries, 79 yards, 1 touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not sure if you want to put him out there or not. At this point, it doesn't really matter because he is your best wide receiver. But I'm not gonna be betting this game. But God, if you are, call that 1-800-522-4700 number. I'm gonna take the points here. Ryan, give me the Cardinals plus 3.5. I think that I haven't seen anything that from Desmond Ridder that gets me excited about him at the quarterback position right now for the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Arizona, especially with the news of JJ Watt, I almost said TJ Watt, JJ Watt retiring. Maybe they finish strong here. I thought Watt actually was awesome in that Tampa Bay game. They couldn't block him. And I mean, the Falcons once upon a time were 6-0 to start the league or start the season against the spread. They failed to cover 7 out of 9. I think this team has mailed it in.
Yeah.
And total's low as well at 42. I'll take the points. I actually think if you want to just bet this, just take a stab at the money line of Arizona where you're getting plus money because this is a toss-up game.
It really is. And I mean, if you really want to bet something on it, maybe just take JJ Watt to get a sack and check the box score at the end of the day, because again, him saying that this is going to be his last season, he's trying to go out here with a bang, and I don't trust that offensive line here for the Atlanta Falcons either. So I'm with you. Let's go Cardinals plus the points, take the money line. And I know we don't talk about a lot about player props here, but JJ Watt to get a sack, I think I'm going to be on that for the final 2 games of his career.
Yeah, I like that angle too. It seems like, I mean, he's such a likable guy and respected guy.
Yeah.
Huge voice in that locker room. I think they will play for him. And the only thing is Kingsbury. I mean, you just don't know if those guys want to play for Kingsbury. But yeah, no, I like those JJ Watt props coming down the stretch here these final 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right, we will go to a meaningful game now, where this is a game of the early window. We teased it already, and we kind of talked about how we even got here, where Tampa Bay has been a heavy favorite the entire season to win the NFC South. But now they're in a situation where they got to win this game to win the division, or they're going home and they won't be playing in the playoffs for the first time since, I believe, 2002 in Tom Brady's career that he would miss the playoffs. And Carolina's going to Tampa. Tampa's only laying a short number at 3, over under 40.5. Obviously, weather will not be a factor in this game, with the game being in the Sunshine State. Moonoff, can the Panthers get it done here?
This screams like the public dog of the week, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just because how bad the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been all season and how they've been clawing their ways to victories over the past several weeks. And it's really been in those fourth quarters. I mean, this Buccaneers team could easily be only having 3 to 4 wins. I know there was a couple games, I think it was against the Packers, where they had to come from behind last week, against the Cardinals. I think their previous week they had to come back from behind as well. So I, as much as I want the Panthers to win here, man, Sam Darnold on the road makes me nervous. He's 0-3 straight up in his career and ATS against Tom Brady in his career. And the Panthers this season haven't been very good on the road either, right? I think they're only 1 and I think they said, let me go back and check. 1-5 on the road so far this year. And I know a lot of those games were probably with Matt Rule at the head coaching position, but I think in a game where you have the GOAT, you have Tom Brady, he needs to get the victory here to get into the playoffs. I think that they can get it done here. I'm going to be the contrarian guy on this game. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady -3 to take care of business here against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, no, this does scream the public dog of the week, but I'm gonna fall for it.
Okay.
I think they're just a
I
better
can't fault
football.
you for it.
Yeah, I think they're the better football team. And like you said, whenever Tampa does win, it seems like they come back from 2 scores late to win by what, a field goal or something. So the only game where they actually really did look good for an extended period of time was that Cincinnati game where they jumped on Burrow and company 17-0. But yeah, I mean, you look at the games that they've won, 19-16 against Arizona, 17-16 against New Orleans, the Germany game, the Rams game. Every game is a comeback win for Brady. So I'll take the points here. I'm really hoping that Carolina does pull this out because I think it is a great story just for NFL fans if this team can come back from basically being hey, we're going to be the number 1 pick in the draft, sell the whole team, McCaffrey, Baker, and then here they are trying to win the division for Steve Wilks.
Yeah, and again, you probably want to keep an eye on the injury report as well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because there's a lot of guys that are on that injury report. I think it'll be a big boost if they do get Vita Vea back in this game, one of their best defensive linemen and run stoppers, just because I just feel like it'll be another game where the Carolina Panthers, like they did in that game earlier this season, where they did beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their home building 21-3, where D'Onta Foreman had a great game for the Carolina Panthers in that game. So I'm gonna say I've when we talk about commandments in sports betting, I think especially in the NFL, for me, it's number 1 on that list is don't bet against Tom Brady. I know he hasn't had a great year this year, and against the spread, they haven't been very good either. But I think in games where it matters the most, I'm not betting against Tom Brady. I think that's going to be where my money goes in this game. I'll take the Bucks -3.
You know what I like is waiting for the Bucks to fall down 10-0 or something, double digits, and then live betting the Buccaneers at big time plus money because we've seen it over and over again with this guy. He just finds ways to win games.
Yeah, but you hit the nail on the head right there, Ryan, as well as that. The Buccaneers are going to have to get off to a start like they did against the Cincinnati Bengals in that first half, where they were 17-3 or something like that, and turnovers caught up to them in that second half, but I think it's going to take that type of start for this Buccaneers team to, get this victory.
Yeah, because I think unlike the Rams, unlike the Saints, and unlike the Cardinals, the Panthers can actually play with the lead because they run the ball with Hubbard and Foreman. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching this one. I'll take the bait and I'll take the Panthers, and you're on the Tampa Tom Buccaneers to extend their season one more week into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, hey, before we transition into our next game, I got to get us paid one more time at Underdog Fantasy. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. At Underdog, the season never ends. Right now, you can play their weekly Battle Royale games or even draft your playoff best ball team. They also have a ton of daily games for NBA and NHL. Plus, when you use the promo code SGPN at UnderdogFantasy.com, you get a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's the Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. All righty, Moonoff. We are moving along in this slate, and we're going to go to New York City or East Rutherford in New Jersey for this next game. The Indianapolis Colts, off that embarrassing Monday night display where Nick Foles was atrocious, to say the least, in that Monday night game, are going to the Giants. This is a win and you clinch your ticket game for the Giants. Giants just got to win the game, and they are going to the postseason for the first time since the boat year with Odell Beckham. Giants were laying 5.5, over under 38.5. You give the Colts any shot in this game?
No, I think this is like the ultimate motivation get up spot for the New York Giants, isn't it? They've been great at home this year. Colts have nothing really to play for here, right? I mean, Nick Foles is going to be the starting quarterback again for the Indianapolis Colts in this game. Maybe we see Sam Ellinger if he's having a bad first half is Nick Foles, but the crowd should be ruckus. The Brian Dable and the Giants know what's on the line here. Just get the victory, and let's get into the playoffs. Was our first goal, right? Make the playoffs or obviously win the division. Yep. But Eagles ran away with that. In that NFC East division. But yeah, I'm going to lay the points here with the Giants. I was on the Giants last week on their +4, +4.5, depending on the number that you did get, thinking that they could get the upset victory last week against Minnesota. But now you're coming back into your building where you've been really good. This Colts team is just so bad, Brian. It's I don't even think they'll get more than 10 points here. I think this is a comfortable victory for the Giants, something in the neighborhood of 21-10 type of victory here. I think they clinch their spot here, and then New York Giants fans are going to rejoice here, getting it back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of side with you here as well. I mean, this Colts team, it's an embarrassment the way that they hired Jeff Saturday and then they beat Vegas in the fluke game, and then Jim Irsay celebrated like they won the Super Bowl, and they haven't won since. All they've done since winning that game is, they had the biggest collapse in NFL history at Minnesota, blowing a 33-0 halftime lead. They lost to Dallas by almost about 40, it seemed. And then Monday night was awful against the LA Chargers with Nick Foles. They can't figure out who they want to play quarterback. The Giants, on the other hand, have not covered a home spread. They have not won a home game since the Houston Texans earlier in November. But I think this is a good spot for them. Coming out, they played well last week against Minnesota. They just lost to a team that finds a way to win every game by a field goal, it seems, in the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Giants are actually playing pretty good football since being embarrassed by the Eagles, beating Washington on the road, losing tough one to Minnesota. I think they come back and get in the playoffs, and we got a happy boss if that happens.
Yeah, happy boss and happy Giants fans also around our podcast host group, including Terrell. So, yeah, I mean, this Colts team, the rumors are already starting. Yeah, I mean, I know this is an off-season conversation that the rumors are already starting about Derek Carr to the Colts, but their wide receiving group doesn't excite me. Like, it's Michael Pittman Jr. and it's nobody after that. I mean, remember the days with Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and those guys at the wide receiving group for this Colts team, but they really need to get some offensive weapons. I know they have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, one of the best in the league, but they need to get some help at those wide receiver positions because none of those guys outside of Michael Pittman get me excited. I'm not sure even he's a wide receiver one for that team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I used to view the Colts as one of the classy franchises in the NFL. Maybe they were just hiding that they had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck for all these years. And the way that they've operated over these last couple years, I mean, we crushed Carson Wentz on the show, and rightfully so at times, but like the way that they just shipped him off for Matt Ryan and praised Matt Ryan like he was a god, and then Phillip Rivers was all right. They just it's been a revolving door at the quarterback position for this team and this organization. And then for them to kick Frank Reich to the curb for starting the rookie and then bring Jeff Saturday in because they had a nice conversation at a reunion, they're a mess. And the Colts actually kind of remind me of the Giants last year at the end, where the Giants kept giving these big numbers and it seemed like a good value. I mean, blindly, it's like, oh, the Giants are laying 5.5. They can't cover that, but the Colts are so dysfunctional and bad. I'm with you. I like the Giants here.
Yeah, I think they know, like, hey, our destiny is in front of us of getting into the playoffs after I don't know how many years that they haven't made it. But I just don't think Colts have a chance in this game. I mean, the quarterback situation, all the injuries that they've dealt with, it just hasn't been very pretty. I think it'll be something similar to what we saw Monday Night Football. Chargers got the 20-3 victory. I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar in this Giants game.
Yep, we are both on the G-men here, and we're going to go to your team next. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars, as hot as anybody in the NFL, taking on their kryptonite, the Houston Texans, coming off the big win in Tennessee, Nashville. the Texans have covered 3 straight easily. Over under 44. You sticking with your Texans to stay hot here?
So I think the conversation in this game here, Ryan, is that this game is pretty much meaningless for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Because next week against Tennessee, it's going to be for the division. And I know already Tennessee, as of Thursday night, are pretty much sitting all their key guys, but I don't think Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to do that just because of how well they are playing. Obviously, the risk of injury is always there, but for this Jacksonville Jaguars team, I think they got to continue the momentum of how well they've been playing over the past several weeks. And now you're going into Houston, where it is a revenge spot for them, where the Texans did come into their building or in their home field and got the victory there. So the way that Trevor Lawrence and this offense has been playing, I'm gonna go here with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this game by at least a touchdown. Um, I think that you'll see most of the key guys playing in this game, whether it's Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones Jr. is having a great season. Evan Ingram has been really good for them over the past several weeks. I think this is a good opportunity for them to keep rolling, keep the guys in good form, and not have any rust going into that game next week. So, and again, the Texans, they don't need to win any more games. We need to get that number 1 pick. There's no reason for them to keep on winning games here because for what Chicago is right on their tail, right? They have 3 wins. Texans have 2. They have 1 tie in there as well. So, who knows? Maybe upper management is coming and telling the Texans, we don't need to win any more games. We need to get that number 1 pick, make sure we have that number 1 pick. And I think Jackson takes care of business here early and often, and they're on to next week against Tennessee.
Yeah, no, I struggle with this one because the Texans have beat them 9 in a row. You don't know how Peterson's going to handle playing his starters with a meaningless game on paper. But I mean, I'm gonna lean to the Jags here. The Jaguars are as hot as anybody. I do fear that they could only win this game by a field goal, so I don't feel great about this one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Houston's played as well as anybody recently. They've been great in the spoiler alert. They should have beaten Dallas. They should have beaten Kansas City, and then they finally got it done against Tennessee. Maybe they celebrated hard into the Christmas holiday, and a little bit of a letdown here. Like you said, they need to lose and get the number 1 pick. I know you're not completely sold on the candidates for the QB1 in this upcoming draft, but
yeah.
I mean, you definitely want to have that asset, though.
Yeah, 100%. And then you have that asset. You also have the first round pick for the Cleveland Browns as well this season. So if you want to trade back, accumulate more picks, if you're not sold on a quarterback in this upcoming draft, that's always a possibility. But when you have that number 1 pick, it means something, right? Teams are going to come calling for it. They think their guys there at number 1. So yeah, Texans. I think this is a game where, yeah, we'll see them regress here a little bit after what's happened over the last 3 weeks. So they have actually covered games and actually won one last week.
Yeah, and another note, Jacksonville does have the rest advantage where they played on Thursday night against the New York Jets, and the Texans had to go to Nashville. Crazy game with the power going out, and then come back win. So we're both on the Jags here, so we'll move it along here. And, man, I'm scared to death of this game. I'm not going to lie to you. Cleveland's going to Washington. My Washington Commandos laying 2. All they got to do is win. That's all they got to do. Over-under is 40. Washington playoff scenarios, you win your last 2. You're in the playoffs. You got Dallas on deck. They're not going to play their guys. On paper, Washington should win their last 2, of course. They're playing the Browns. Browns just got embarrassed at home, and the Ice Bowl, Fog Bowl, whatever you want to call that game. Deshaun Watson hasn't been very good. Is this a letdown for Washington? And Carson Wentz is back under center for Taylor Heinicke.
I'm gonna let you lead this off because this is your team. I'm curious to see what your thought process of going from Heinicke to Carson Wentz here.
So I think I'm in the minority and I actually agree with it because I've seen it back-to-back years with Heinicke. He's been great, lightning in a bottle, great backup quarterback. But in December and January last year, noticeably against it was Dallas and Philly. They played Dallas and Philly with the weird schedule last year, 4 straight games, and he just struggled. I mean, there's so much tape on him now, and there was a reason he was he was sitting on his couch taking online classes at Old Dominion University.
Yep.
He's a backup, but I mean, he's fun, and I think in the Giants game, Chris Collinsworth kept touching it where a little bit of fairy dust where he throws the ball and it goes off the three Giants defenders' hands. And it somehow isn't intercepted. I mean, they've had so many heroic comeback. I mean, the one that comes to mind is when he just throws it up straight in the air to Terry McLaurin in Indianapolis, and he somehow comes down with the ball. They've found a way to win so many crazy games. Atlanta as well, Green Bay, crazy game, and then the Chicago game. I think the luck just ran out, and he was overmatched in that San Francisco game in the second half. So, I mean, the handicap here is they need to give Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson the ball 30-plus times combined because the Cleveland Browns can't stop the run.
Yeah. And
I think it opens up play action with Wentz, who has a bigger arm to get the ball to McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson.
Yeah, and I like it more that they are at home in this game, right? And I think, again, we talked about it with the Giants, where they get the victory, they get into the playoffs. Obviously, for Washington, they need to get a little bit of help, and they do need to win their games to get into the playoffs. But the opportunity is there, right? And we'll see how Carson Wentz responds, being back under center for the Washington Commanders. But I think you hit the nail on the head, is that they need to run this ball 30 times, whether it's both with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. For the Cleveland Browns, I mean, look, Deshaun Watson has not looked very good. I think there's no secret about that. When a guy misses 2+ years, you're getting from Deshaun Watson a guy that has missed 2+ years, right? I know last week with weather and things like that, things got in the way. They had an opportunity, but he just hasn't looked very good. So, and the Washington run defense is pretty good, right? So I think they should be able to limit Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But I think whichever team, Ryan, has the more rushing yards in this game is going to win the football game. I think that's what it's really going to come down to. And I think the advantage definitely goes to the Washington Commanders. So not to piss you off to end the show, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders here.
Hey, no, trust me. I almost want to go with the Browns just so I can hedge myself, basically, emotional hedge, as they call it. And you mentioned it. The whole key is on the defensive side is selling out to stop Chubb and Hunt. And I think getting Chase Young back last week was huge. Yeah. I mean, I think people forgot how talented that guy is. I mean, you pair him up with Montez Sweat, John Allen, Daron Payne. That's as good a front four on the defensive side in the NFL. And back to Carson Wentz, this is kind of ironic because he was really good last year from it was like weeks 5 through 15. And then he just collapsed the last 2 weeks against Vegas and Jacksonville, where he tested positive for COVID. He was out, and then he wasn't out. He didn't get to practice, and then they just tanked the season at the end. It's kind of ironic now that he comes in where he missed that portion of the year last year, where he lit it up a little bit, and now he gets a chance to avenge his last 2 weeks of the season choke job last year, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, these final 2 weeks could be a tryout for Carson Wentz as well. I mean, teams need quarterbacks next season to maybe, fill a gap for a guy that's maybe injured or even at a backup role. So I think he'll come out and play well and make the plays here. But and I'm a little more biased because I need Cleveland to keep losing games. So with that first round pick looks even better for the Texans, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you've already won the season by getting rid of Deshaun Watson and getting the value back for what you got for him.
Yeah.
Houston won that deal. I don't care if Deshaun Watson comes out and lights it up next year. To get what you got back, not knowing what was to come with Deshaun Watson. Shout out to the Texans. That was a good deal. I think the Texans are headed in the right direction for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, from where they are, there's no way to go but up for this Texans team. But yeah, I mean, look, they've had a good draft last year, and I think that's something to build off of going into the draft next year and for years to come as well.
Yeah, your Rockets and your Texans trending upward.
Trending upward, yeah, and then obviously the Astros winning championships or winning last year at least. So that's what's keeping the town afloat.
No doubt. No doubt. Speaking of staying afloat, somehow New England is still in the playoff hunt. Shout out to Boston Capper. Miami Dolphins without Tua now. Miami's in a free fall. I mean, once 8-3, battling for the number 1 seed in the AFC headed into December. Now they're in danger of missing the playoffs altogether. They're going to New England. New England's laying 2.5. Obviously, Miami opened up as favorites earlier in the week, but with the Tua news of being out with another concussion, unfortunately, he's going to miss this game. Over under 41.5. Teddy Bridgewater steps in. Moonoff, are you just going to ride New England's defense here?
This game is really difficult to handicap. We know about Teddy Two Gloves just being a covering machine on the road throughout his last couple seasons, right? I think this is a game where Dolphins are going to play with some pride just because of what's kind of transpired for them in the month of December, where they finally started playing some legitimate defenses, right? Early in the season, we were seeing them just lighting up the scoreboard and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle having over 100 yards before the half was even there, before halftime, just because of the bad defenses that were playing. But now this in the month of December, where they play the 49ers and they play the Chargers and they play the Packers last week, better defenses than what they're used to.
I struggle with this game too.
Yeah, I don't trust. I think there's something to be had and said about the dynamic between Mac Jones and the coaches calling the plays, whether that's Matt Patricia or Joe Judge. I think it is Patricia that is calling the plays for them. I don't trust the play calling for the New England Patriots. I really don't. I think there's enough for Teddy Two Gloves to get the ball to Tyreek Hill, get the ball to Jalen Waddle. I think that they can squeak this game out. I like the Dolphins here to go into New England and win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Patriots do, but I think there is value here on the Miami Dolphins to go in there and get the victory there against the New England Patriots. So I'm going to go with Miami plus a 2.5. I'll take the money line in this game as well.
Yeah, and I think luckily for Miami, it's not going to be a blizzard or anything like what it was in Buffalo a couple weeks ago. It's going to be in the mid-50s, which is actually like a spring day in New England for January football. I kind of like Miami here too. We saw it last week or 2 weeks ago when they were desperate, absolutely desperate against Buffalo, and they rose to the occasion. They should have won that game. They outplayed Buffalo for 60 minutes, but Josh Allen just found a way to win. Josh Allen's not on New England, and New England's not Buffalo. I'm with you on the dynamics between Mac Jones and Matt Patricia. It just has not been good this year. For Mac Jones to lead a top 10 offense last year, all of a sudden to an inept offense this year. I mean, they've been painful to watch. And then I think their season ended as soon as Jacoby Myers had that boneheaded lateral play. It kind of just took the wind out of the sails a little bit, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, for how that game transpired, Ryan, for them to come back, tie it, and the way they lost that game, I mean, that's really deflating. I mean, that plane right back from Vegas to New England or to Boston to Foxborough, I mean, that was probably a pretty quiet flight there. And again, they had opportunities last week as well to come from behind and again beat the Bengals. So I think if the Dolphins do get out to a early lead, you might want to come back and look at the Patriots on live, because they are a team that they don't lay over. They do come back. We saw that over the past couple of weeks here. So there might be an opportunity for you to middle this. So, but for the full game, I think we're both on the Dolphins here.
Yeah, and you mentioned Teddy. I actually feel better about Teddy than Tua going into this game just because he's a vet and he's played in the cold. We know Tua's not good in the cold, so you could throw that out now. Teddy's 20-4 against the spread as a road underdog.
Yeah.
I like that trend. I'll continue. I'll ride the money line as well here, but I like that angle too of New England with their second half defense of not giving up any points over the last couple of weeks. So if you want to take a stab on New England live as well, I think that's a good play.
Yeah, I agree. Like you mentioned, Bridgewater has just been so good on the road, 24-17 on the road overall. But he has lost 4 of his last 5 games against the spread on the road. So something to keep in mind. But again, like you mentioned there, Ryan, 20-4 as a road underdog throughout his career.
Yep, I agree. So we're seeing eye to eye on that. And we got Miami not rolling, but getting New England once again which would be, I think, 5 wins in a row over Belichick for those Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's not walking through that door.
Certainly not. No.
Let's move along to a team that kind of had a dream crusher game last week. Detroit Lions. They're taking on our co-host J Mark's Chicago Bears. I feel like the Chicago Bears are the best 3-win football team in the NFL history.
You know what? I was listening to another podcast, and they mentioned how the Chicago Bears were on the heels of the Houston Texans for that number 1 pick. I'm like, don't the Bears have like 6 wins? How is this even possible? And then I was seeing that they've lost with like 7, 8 games in a row. But yeah, you're probably right. The best 3-win team that we've seen in a while. They just have a tough time closing the door.
Definitely the most entertaining in terms of Justin Fields. Finally, he went under on his rushing yards last week.
Yeah.
I mean, they were beating the Bills midway through the third quarter last week.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been the same song and dance with the Chicago Bears. They're going to Detroit in the Dome, over under 52. I expect a lot of points here. How about you?
I do too. I mean, look, Detroit at home. We know they're over machine. This is a division game. We've seen division games this season at least be profitable to the under. But I think this number may have gone away from us. I think 51 is a key number in the NFL. I know this number opened up at least a total. I know, again, not a total show here, but I think it opened up, let's see, at 48.5. So if you were able to get that opening number, you're probably in good shape here. But I think at 52 it's kind of gotten away here. But 6 seems like a lot here for the Detroit Lions. I know Chicago has been bad, but they've been competitive. And I think this might be a game where they rely on that running game here with Justin Field, with David Montgomery. I think Khalil Herbert also has been back for this team as well. And I think that if they take the same formula like the Carolina Panthers did last week, I think Justin Fields, this is a game where we see Justin Fields doing Justin Fields things from a running perspective. Like you mentioned, he didn't get over his projection of rushing yards last week against the Buffalo Bills, but indoors against a team that just struggles defending the rush, I think it's an opportunity for the Bears at least to cover this game. I'm probably thinking like a 27-24 type of final here, Ryan.
Yeah, no, and they met, a couple weeks back. It was 31-30. And that was a game that Chicago blew a double-digit lead, kind of like these last 3 home games that they had against Green Bay, Philly, and Buffalo. They had leads in all 3 games. I love the Bears here, and I actually consider taking the Bears on the money line as a dog here. I think the Lions, I mean, they're in a unfamiliar position where the target's on their back, and I think it showed last week where they just got absolutely throttled on the ground. They got Green Bay on. They've been talking about the Green Bay Week 18 game for about 3 weeks now, and obviously they were looking ahead last week. I think it's another look ahead situation. They just think they're going to walk in and beat the Chicago Bears, but I think these two teams are closer, evenly matched teams than the general public is giving them credit for.
Yeah, that was a game in their last matchup in Chicago where Justin Fields and that rushing attack ran for 258 yards. 147 of that was from Justin Fields. So
he went nuts.
Yeah, he did go nuts. 13 carries, 147 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. So, if you're a prop better, I think this might be the week to hop back on Justin Fields and his rushing yards just because how bad this Detroit Lions rush defense is. And you're right that in that fourth quarter in that game between these two teams, the Lions outscored the Bears 21-6, but that was a game that Chicago did have in hand.
Yeah, no, they had it in that. Honestly, that was the game that kind of propelled this Lions streak. The Lions were dead in the waters then, but got that one and kind of just have rolled since. But I think we're both definitely on the Chicago Bears in honor of Mr. J Mark football.
Yeah, hopefully we made him proud here. At least I did.
No doubt. Moving along. Oh my God, this game. This game is disgusting. Denver, the Broncos. They were awesome on Christmas Day. We'll just say that. They're going to Kansas City, where they actually were competitive against these Chiefs in Mile High a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Chiefs are laying 13, over under 45. You give the Broncos any chance here? Nathaniel Hackett obviously fired earlier in the week. Candidate for close your eyes special here, as Ryan Shawn would say.
Yeah, usually when coaches get fired, you usually want to bet on the team that had that coach fired, right? But I think in this incident here, Ryan, I think that some of these players do have an issue with Russell Wilson, whether it's how he has been playing or how he kind of conducts himself as a leader around the locker room, or how he's commanding this offense or his play on the field. You mentioned these two teams matched up in Denver, where Denver kind of had to come from behind in that game to cover that spread. They outscored the Chiefs in the second half, 14-7. Um, I don't think this is a huge look ahead spot for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have Raiders next week, where we already know what their situation is with Derek Carr out of the fold. Um, I feel like this might be a game where Kansas City kind of just goes through the motions.
No doubt.
And I think this might be another game where we see a backdoor cover by the Denver Broncos. Defensively, the Chiefs I haven't been very impressed with them. They gave up 28 in that game against the Broncos. They gave up 24 to the Texans, where they went into overtime in that game. Reluctantly, I'll take the points here with the Broncos at plus 13. If this gets to maybe plus 14, you want to wait a little bit. That public money does come in on the Kansas City Chiefs, and then maybe pull the plug there at plus 14. But I think at plus 13, I'll still take it here. I think that this is like a 24-34 type of game. I think that the Chiefs still get their points, but I think that the Broncos can move the football here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Kansas City, they're not going to come out and punch Denver in the mouth. They're just going to go through the motions. Nobody get hurt. Let's get on to Week 18 and see if the Bengals can beat the Bills so we can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. Close your eyes and just take Denver. I'm with you. I like a backdoor touchdown here. Denver, Kansas City had not covered in 5 straight games before last week, and Seattle had their chances. They had multiple red zone opportunities where they just couldn't convert. Geno threw a couple bad interceptions, bad turnovers. I just think Kansas City is in cruise control until they get to January in the playoffs.
And also for Denver, it's like you got absolutely murdered by a team last week who didn't have their top guys, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Aaron Donald. None of those guys played in that game, and you got murdered 51-14. At a point, you have to play with some pride, right? And I think that you got to come out and do that here against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see. But Broncos for me, man. I'm going to just close my eyes like you mentioned. Just close your eyes and just not even watch this game.
Yeah, I think Kansas City actually might be the perfect team for them to play because I'm sure a lot of guys in that locker room are tired of losing Kansas City, tired of the Mahomes and Andy Reid train. So maybe they'll play and get up for just one more week, and then they can cruise and just lay down in Week 18.
Yeah, I agree. If Bengals get the job done on Monday night, you probably won't even see it. I think they do. You said they clinch the number 1 seed. Do they? The Chiefs?
The Chiefs need the Bengals to beat the Bills, and then the Chiefs got to beat the Raiders because the Bengals will then now have beaten Buffalo and Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so this might be maybe look at the Chiefs in the first half in this game. I think that might be worth a look.
That's a good. I like that angle too. So we're both on Denver. Close your eyes and just take it. And we're moving along here to our final game of the early window. Philadelphia coming off the 5th ranked power rated Philadelphia Eagles on the NFL Gambling Podcast. Shout out to Sean stacking the money green.
Nah, we ain't shouting no Sean nothing out. He explicit idiots to the NFL Gambling Podcast. So no love for Sean.
That's what you get for losing to Dallas. You get bumped down a couple spots. You've lost to Taylor Heineke and now Dak Prescott. So yeah, you're not in the top 3 for now. You're number 5. You gotta work your way back up. The New Orleans Saints, we talked about in the pre-show, weirdest team of the NFL season. Can't figure them out. Don't know why Jameis Winston isn't playing number 1. Don't know when Taysom Hill's going to go in number 2. Or when Andy Dalton's going to throw his next interception, number 3. Eagles are laying 5.5 over under 42. All the Eagles got to do is win this game, and they are the NFC regular season champs, NFC East champs, and clinch home field advantage.
We talked about it with the Giants, how it's a spot for the Giants to win, and you're in. Eagles, same story, right? You clinch the number 1 seed, you clinch that NFC East division. and you don't have to worry about playing your guys next week. And you get some extra time for Jalen Hurts to get some more rest before you have a playoff game in a couple weeks. So Gardner Minshew looked good last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I know there was it was unfortunate how they did lose that game last week with a couple of turnovers there, especially by Minshew had lost one and Miles Sanders had one in that game. But you're at home. The crowd is going to be a ruckus. You have an opportunity to get your 14th win of the season. You're 6-1 at home. The Saints with Andy Dalton, I don't trust them. I don't. Again, it's you mentioned it. Why have we not seen Jameis Winston on the field for this Saints team? But for me, I think that you got to go with the Eagles here. I think this is a good teaser leg for the Eagles in this game. Just go out and take care of business. Don't have to worry about next week against the Giants. Rest your guys to get some extra time for Jalen Hurts, like I mentioned. I think they should take care of business here. I think they rely on the running game here. We know Minshew can make the passes as well. And at home, if Jalen Hurts, has he officially been ruled out, or Gardner Minshew has been ruled in?
I was listening to Sean and Ryan, what was it, last night, and I think they're going to wait and see if Dallas loses tonight, then they're going to sit Jalen Hurts because they already clinch it. But but I also think it's going to come down to the wire. But I think it's going to be Minshew. I think if Jalen Hurts is healthy, this number would be what, 7.5, 8?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I'll go with the Eagles. I think they come, they'll come into their building, take care of business here on their home field, get that number 1 seed, get that division. Don't think Dallas is going to lose to Tennessee, who's sitting most of their team. They're starting Joshua Dobbs. So, give me the Eagles in this game. I'll lay the points here.
I'm actually going to take a contrarian side here and be on the other side. I'm going to take the Saints. I think they're going to be able to run the football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. I think the Eagles have been able to be run on. I mean, Chicago's run on them. Obviously, Washington ran the ball the entire night. That's how they beat him a couple weeks ago. Houston ran the ball with Dameon Pierce a couple weeks back. I think it's a ball control type of game for New Orleans where they keep this thing close. I could see Philadelphia winning this thing on a field goal, where it's one of those situations where all you got to do is win. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 40. I think New Orleans also, they are so mathematically in the race, so they're going to play desperate in Philadelphia, hoping that they could stay in the NFC South race. I'll take the Saints. I do like your angle on the Philadelphia tease leg, though.
Yeah. I think it's a good teaser option if you're able to find a 6 out there. Obviously, you don't like crossing the 0. But get it down to a pick 'em. I think Eagles, I think they win this game here.
Yeah, no, I think we both agree on that. So that'll transition into everybody's favorite segment of the show, our lock, dog, and tease. And I will let you lead it off, Moonoff. You are the guest, so you will lead it off.
All right. Let's see. For my lock here, this is an ugly slate. It really is.
It is.
For my lock, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Giants. -5.5. Colts have shown me nothing over the past few weeks here. It tells me a lot that they're starting Nick Foles. I mean, I don't care which quarterback is out there, whether it's Ellinger, whether it's Nick Foles, Matt Ryan. This is just the ultimate motivation spot for the Giants, right? Win and you're in. And I think that they can take care of business here. I think it's like a 23-10 type of final. 5.5 on their home field. I think they take care of business here. So I'll take the Giants -5.5 as my lock here, Ryan.
I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to take Washington. Carson Wentz returns. They just
that was going to be my second option.
Yeah,
I was going to leave that to you.
Hey, you know what? We've worked enough on the Propcast where we can read each other's minds now. I run the ball with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. Don't turn it over. You win the game. And then stop the run on the other end. It's a simple game. It doesn't matter if it's you or I or Carson Wentz playing quarterback. Run the damn ball. So I'll take Washington -2.
All right, let's see here. For my dog, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. +135 on the money line, +2.5 on the spread. Talked about how good Teddy has been covering games on the road. He's 20-4 as a road underdog. I think the Dolphins have enough to compensate. I guess that's not the right word. I think the dynamic we talked about between Mac Jones and Mac Patricia, I think it's speaking volumes to me. And I just don't think offensively they have enough to keep up with this Dolphins team, whether even with Teddy at the quarterback position. So if you still have Tyreek Hill out there, you still have Jalen Waddle out there, that's a lot of speed for this secondary for the Patriots to keep up with. And their running backs with Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, I think that they can take care of business here, put up enough points. I think the magic number in this game, that if the Dolphins get to 24 points, I think that they can beat this Patriots team. So I think it'll be like a 24-20 type of victory here for the Dolphins. So I'll take the Dolphins as my dog at plus 135.
I love that one too. I want to take Carolina, but it's so public. I'm going to just stay off and just root for Carolina. I kind of hinted at it. I'm going to take a big one here, big swing, plus 220. I'm going to take J-Mark, Chicago Bears, plus 220 to get it done and ruin the playoffs for the Detroit Lions. They played a couple weeks ago. Chicago blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. Chicago's been feisty as a dog here as of late against Buffalo, Philadelphia, Green Bay, and I think it's the Lions a little bit of a look ahead as well to Green Bay on deck. I think they're going to be able to run the ball just like Carolina. So I'll take the Bears plus 220.
I love it. I think that's a great play. You're right. I think that big look ahead spot is something that is on the minds of this Lions team. And, Bears are playing with house money, right? I think that they'll have an opportunity to run the ball effectively against this Lions team like they did in that first matchup. And again, that's a game that the Bears should have won, where they just coughed up that lead, especially giving up 3 touchdowns to the Lions in that game. So, yeah, I like that play for your dog. For my teaser, you guys go 2 legs or 3 legs?
We usually go 3, so
okay,
it gets a little dicey on that third one.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna tease up the Panthers up to 9. I think this is probably a 4 or a 6-point victory for the Buccaneers, or either way. So I'll tease the Bucks up to plus 9. I will tease the Dolphins up to plus 8.5. Get through that key number of 3 and 7. And I'll tease the Eagles down. They just went to 6.5 over at WinBet. So that'll come down to a -0.5 for the Eagles. So yeah, that's 3, right? So Panthers up to plus 9, Dolphins up to plus 8.5, and Eagles down to essentially a pick.
Yeah, no, I love honestly, I'm on the same ones as you. I'm definitely going to tease Philly down to a 0.5 point, just win the game. Like you said, the number just moved, so maybe we're getting some news on Jalen Hurts potentially suiting up. I love Miami plus 8.5. That's an easy one. New England doesn't blow out anybody. And for my last one, I will tease. I like the Carolina one as well. But I really like, where was it? I just saw it. I kind of like Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up to 10?
Yeah. I think Houston's been just feisty as a dog, and I think they'll play hard for Lovey one more week. And Jacksonville gets out of there with a 3 to 7 point win.
Yeah, I was thinking like it's like a 6-point victory or a touchdown victory for for the Houston Texans. For the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jalen Hurts.
Go ahead.
But I was going to say Jalen Hurts seen participating in practice on Thursday. That's what the news is.
Yep. So we're breaking news on the NFL Gambling Podcast. No, I was going to say this is an important game for Houston because if they cover, they clinch a winning season on the covering aspect of things.
Yeah, they do. So something to hang our hats on here, Ryan. Something to hang our hats on for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Moonoff, before we get up on out of here, tell everybody where to find you. I know you will be on the NFL Gambling Podcast later as well.
Yeah, we have Minty Bets, a good friend of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network and good friend of mine, joining us to preview the afternoon games with myself and Scott. Find me daily, or not daily, but find me on the NBA Gambling Podcast, which does go daily, right around, sometimes we go around 10 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Eastern on the NBA Gambling Pod Monday through Friday. Propcast, you guys know, with myself and Ryan doing the NBA and with Rod doing the NFL. MLB around the corner. We'll be firing that up as well. Just a lot of great stuff happening around the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. So just find me all over the network.
He is the machine for a reason. He's everywhere. Those are just a couple of the things he does. He does a lot behind the scenes as well. So, yeah, if you follow SGPN, you definitely have seen Munaf a little. His hands are and his fingertips are on a little bit of everything. So he definitely has a well-diverse portfolio, I should say.
Yeah, it's a grind, but we get to wake up every day and just talk about sports and betting. But it's a blessing, just being part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It really is.
Yes, it is indeed. And I think this will be my final show on the NFL Gambling Podcast for the year of 2022. I will be back with Rod next week to recap the Week 17 action, and then J Mark will be back as well. Just want to thank everybody for a great 2022 at the SGPN family. You guys are terrific in the Discord, all our fans. And please don't forget to rate, subscribe, like, leave a comment. It really does help with the company, the show, the podcast. So we really appreciate it. 2023 is going to be a hell of a year, and we're looking forward to it and having you guys along with us. You find me at Moneyline_Mac on Twitter. And that's all I got, Munaf. Anything before we get up on out of here?
Nope, you nailed everything, my man.
Sounds good, man. And good luck, everybody. Have a safe new year, and don't forget to let it ride.